Welcome back to Up North at 4, and joining me now, Lizzie Lumley, the proprietor. I will call you. You make me think of like a museum curator because like you collect stories, maybe not artifacts per se, but you put them into a tour that you call the Eagle River Twisted History Tour. And Lizzie, I want to ask you, how did that start for you?
Alrighty, well, thank you for having me. And it started in 2014 when I came up with the idea. When my sister and family and I go on vacation, I'm always dragging them on the history and ghost tours. So I was thinking in Eagle River, well, what else is there that I could offer for tourists coming up here? And I thought, hey, there's nothing like a history tour or a haunted tour here. So I thought, hey, that's a good idea. And that is how the idea was born.
You sound like my brother and myself whenever we went on family vacations, because we were the two guys who were always like, oh, there's this history tour, like, come on. And the rest of my family was like, it doesn't really sound that fun. But was this something that even for you as a kid kind of just like sparked an interest for you? It
did, yeah. When we were in 7th grade, we went to St. Augustine, Florida, and we did a ghost tour down in St. Augustine, Florida. And after that, I was hooked on doing these kinds of tours.
Okay, so eventually like the dream maybe started as like a little girl and then kind of developed into now where it is. And like you said, it's been 9 years, right?
Yep, so in 2014 is when I thought of the idea. So it took me about a year to research. Okay. So I worked with the Historical Society here in Eagle River and also went to the newspaper archives and internet research. And there's 2 really great books written here about Eagle River. And so I read those. And then, of course, meeting with the locals who have lived here all their lives and hearing their family stories. So it took me about a year to put it together. And then I started doing the tours in 2015.
We are literally within spitting distance of the old Depot Museum, which this year is celebrating its 100th anniversary. So there's a lot of history with the Depot Museum.
A ton.
What can you tell me about that place?
So the Depot Museum itself was built in 1923. And, well, it wasn't a museum at the time. It was actually a working railroad depot for the Chicago Northwestern. And the railroad service would come up here, and it was about an 8 to 10 hour train ride up here from Chicago. And people would hop off at that depot, and they would go down to the river and hop on ferries that were waiting to take them to their resorts.
Oh, okay.
So the train was really used for tourism. It really helped boost the tourism here in Eagle River. Honestly, without the train, I'm not sure Eagle River would be the tourist destination it is today with how the tourism got built up that way.
But 100 years for the depot. That is not the oldest building still standing.
It is not.
In Eagle River. That's down the road. Should we go check that out?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, Lizzie. This building right here behind us, it's now part of the White Spruce Supper Club.
Yes.
This specific middle building, the oldest standing building in Eagle River.
That is correct. Oof. This building was built in 1883.
Wow, okay. So, and what was this building, a home, a cabin? What's the history behind this
It was
place?
A home. So George Dickinson and Lyman Cook, they came up to Eagle River to bring in some supplies, and they had to bring it by horse and cart from 3 Lakes because the railroad wasn't in Eagle River just yet.
Okay.
So here, Dickinson built this home for his family, and it was used as a home and cold storage until the early 1940s when it was converted over into a restaurant, which it has been ever since.
Wow, okay. So I knew this place as the White Spruce. I've been here to eat a few times with my family. I didn't even know that the history of it as a restaurant even went back to the 40s. So in a way, this building kind of has like 2 histories in one, if you will, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what's really cool too is you were showing me there's a photograph of this building. It's the oldest known photograph of this
building. Yes.
Of this building. What happened with that? Was it just someone taking a picture and it happened to be in the background? How did that come together?
I think they just ended up taking the photo. The Historical Society actually provided me with that photo, and they have a awesome just repertoire of old-time photos.
Yeah.
So I definitely visit their museums to see photos like that. And so
cool.
You can see that photo and just check out in the photo, just from the logging, you can see the decimation in the area from the logging.
A little different than it is now, I can imagine.
Yes.
Totally. Well, this is fascinating. And like I said, I've been here numerous times, never knew the rich history of this building. But there's also some things that way, downtown, that we want to check out.
Absolutely.
So I think we should go do that.
Sounds
We're
good.
going to take a break, though, Lizzie. So when we come back, we're going to take a trip downtown Eagle River, see what's in store there. So stick with us on Up North at 4. And welcome back to Up North at 4. I'm joined by Lizzie, who runs the Twisted History Tours in Eagle River. And now we are downtown. We're looking down Wall Street. But the two buildings, I should say, that we're really here to see are these two old theaters, the Eagle on one side, the Vilas Theater on the other. Because I feel like a lot of people think, oh, Eagle River, lakes, snowmobiling. There was big city entertainment here back in the day.
So Eagle River was really the main hub for entertainment. So we actually had 2 movie theaters at one time, if you can believe it. So our Vilas Theater came first in 1928, and then the Eagle Theater followed in 1937.
Okay.
And they each had 1 theater, and they each actually got to show the first run movies. So they didn't just get old movies. As soon as a movie came out, they got to show it. And they would show a different movie, so luckily people
you could do like the double feature.
You could do a double feature there, and they each actually had their own bowling alley as well.
Oh.
So the Vilas Theaters was in the basement, and they actually made a rule: no bowling while the movie was showing, because people couldn't hear the movie going on.
You're just trying to enjoy a nice film, like out on a day with your spouse, and all you hear is. Yeah, I get that. That blows my mind though that these 2 theaters in Eagle River, of all places, and no offense to the people of Eagle River, I love this town, but I would have never expected that they would get first run movies like you had mentioned before. Do you know how they managed to swing that, or was it just because there's so many people coming and going?
There were so many people coming and going because,
Wow.
this was really the entertainment hub at the time. And so with our tourism, that was booming at that time. And the Eagle Theater did shut down in the 1970s, though. Mm-hmm. So then our Vilas Theater is our main movie theater now. Mm-hmm. But the signs you see today are original to when they were first built. So they are refurbishing them and upkeeping them as much as possible. So 2 really important pieces of history still left here in town.
Absolutely. So I can't imagine the bowling alley still exists in the basement anymore.
Nope, it doesn't anymore.
Like a shame.
Yep.
But I think like the small kid inside of me, when I heard I could get a movie, I could go bowling, and I think you mentioned at one point there was like candy involved or a restaurant
there was an
involved.
ice cream and a ice cream store and a restaurant. Yep.
I mean, even today that sounds like a heck of a time.
One-stop entertainment shop right there.
I love it so much. So this is kind of what we mentioned before, where I've been to Eagle River numerous times. I've lived up in this area for years now, and I never knew that there was such like a rich history, especially on Wall Street.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine even people who are from this area and who've lived here their entire lives probably tell you the same thing, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing this tour for 8 years, and I have had everybody from people who have never been to this area to people who are generational families here. And every time I finish a tour, they're like, wow, you told me stuff that I just didn't know about my town. So there is always something new to learn on a Twisted History tour.
And so I'm sure there's a part of you, like when you hear that, you're like, yes.
And the best part about it was when I had I have a lot of teenagers on my tour, but there was one in particular, 2 teenage girls they started on their phones, and by like mid-tour they put their phones away, and I was like, score.
Like we convinced
did
someone.
it.
History can be fun. I love it so much. All right, Lizzie. So if people want to get in touch with you and book tickets for a tour, how could they get in touch with you?
The best way is to head over to my website, which is eaglerivertwistedtours.com. And there you'll find my email address and my cell phone number. So you can email me, call me, text me, however, send a tree mail. And I will get back to you, and we will get a tour scheduled.
Well, I love it. And like I said, I've learned so much already in just half an hour with you. So I can only imagine what I would learn in a full hour on one of these tours. So come check it out. A lot of cool factoids, pieces of history. You will not regret it. Lizzie, thank you so much for taking me on a small little tour of Eagle River. But in the meantime, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back on Up North at 4.